So we are live and welcome, Amanda. Thank you for taking the time to join our community tonight. And Amanda is going to talk to us about astrology and COVID. Now, I'll just share a little bit of background on Amanda. Amanda is a mother, a single mother of one child. She's a business owner since 2007. She has her own PR company, but astrology has been her first love from a very, very young age. So since COVID happened, you've retouched and revisited your astrology, and you're helping people. You help people navigate through these changing times as to which direction to take in their lives. So Amanda, tell us a little bit about what brought you to astrology at such a young age. You were so interested in something from such a young age. So good to have. Go, please tell us.
I can't exactly tell you how young it was, but it was very young. In fact, my mother's been doing some like decluttering and said, I found these very old astrology books recently somewhere. I know I was definitely when I was in primary school, and I remember when I'd go to the library, back then you go to the library, get books out for your schoolwork, and my mother would say, how many astrology books did you get, and how many were for school for the project? And I'd go, well, 3 astrology books. So I was very young.
You studied astrology in 2001. What qualifications did you do in astrology? Because I know you said it took a couple of years for you to complete your astrology.
It was a certificate in it was with the Current Centre, and it was by the Astro synthesis. I decided to study that. It was a friend that encouraged me. I'd literally read every book by this stage. I was around 30, and she said, why don't you go and study it formally? And so I went and did the course. And I found for the first 3 months of the course, I pretty much knew everything they were talking about. And then after 3 months, that's it. That's when you knew I know nothing. So that's when it really dig in.
Oh, excellent. So tell us, Amanda, what has been going on astrology-wise this year? Because everything is shifted for a lot of people. I don't think anybody has gone through this year without being untouched. So tell us what's been happening. Share with us your insights.
Okay, so so that's the thing. I definitely have been looking at this all the time, and as have many astrologers. And in the lead up to it, one thing I sort of probably wanted to get across in the beginning is that astrology isn't fortune telling, so it's not like tarot reading. It's very different. So even though we can see something is coming up, we know the themes and we can sort of maybe preempt what that might mean, but until it gets here, sometimes it unfolds completely, in a different way to what you expect. But what we did know is in January, 2 planets, which are Pluto and Saturn, 2 very powerful planets, were going to come together. What astrologers do is a type of astrology called mundane astrology, and it's where you look at historical events. So you go back and have a look at different things that have happened. And, when that was coming up, we knew that, that had happened before World War I. Those 2 planets came together in the 1980s when there was a big recession on, when there was AIDS, when there was a lot of other different things happening. In fact, actually, even going back 1914, those 2 planets were together. So we knew something big was on its way with those 2 planets coming together, and they were coming together in Capricorn. I'll sort of start by saying there was a few prelude things before these happened. One was when Pluto does a cycle, it's quite long, sometimes like 20 years. It went into Capricorn in 2008, and that's when the first recession happened. So that was like the first hit of it. And when that planet, the theme of that planet is, it's the planet that rules Scorpio, is about transformation. So often it's like the death and destruction. Let's pull something down so we can rebuild it later on and transform it into something different. So Capricorn rules big business, corporation, finance. So essentially that started back in 2008. And with the 2 planets together, it's really about restructuring power. So government, finance, big corporations. So it's a big restructuring because Saturn it talks about restructuring. The other thing that has been really a marker as well that everyone noted, a similar marker happened with the planet Uranus in Taurus, and Taurus rules finances also, rules finances, love, abundance, beauty, earth. It's a very earthy sign. And that was also in that sign in the Great Depression. So you've got two things that are sort of fairly similar that are happening at the same time. And I think with that planet, you know, it's about looking at what we value. And you hear a lot of people talking about that all the time. I'm not earning the same money as what I was earning, but I'm getting to spend more time with my family, with my children. I'm getting to do this, you know, so that's what it's really examining.
So, what lessons? So, what's happening at this stage? Because we've got this, there was January before it started, just on the cusp. Then now, so what's going on now? And then also, when do you see a shift in energy happening for us?
So those two planets came together, interesting enough, in January. So they are still there. They're also being joined up by planet Jupiter. Jupiter is also there. So you've not just got two, you've got the energy of the three of them together. And they're in what we call retrograde. You might have heard of retrograde when people talk about, oh, Mercury's retrograde. Retrograde is the best way I can describe it is, say you were sitting on a train and it was stationary and another train was going past you. You can almost have the feeling that you're going backwards even though you're not moving. So that's retrograde. So that's when they talk about a planet going retrograde. So those three signs in Capricorn are there at the moment. They're in retrograde, and they will stay until two of them will come out in December. So around the 20, sort of around the one comes around the 19th, one the 20th. So say really by the 20, and that's in Australia, we're ahead of our time zone changes first. So you're looking around the 21st. Both of those, well, two of the planets will come out. So Aquarius, they'll go into Aquarius, Saturn and Jupiter will go into Aquarius around that time. So there will be a big shift then, for sure. Aquarius rules technology, working together as a collective. It's more of a I think if you might remember back to the 1960s, the age of Aquarius, we've got a lot of planets that are eventually going to go into Aquarius. That was the last time that we've had a lot of planets in Aquarius, when in the 1960s, when we had a lot of civil rights movements happening, women's liberation, power to the people, power, you know, all that energy. So that's definitely the energy that will be coming after this. Also, Aquarius rules technology, so I'm imagining a lot of inventions and a lot of use of technology. So,
what do you think? What lessons do you think we should be learning at this time in our lives as we transitioning into our new being?
Yeah, I think definitely the lessons have been about overconsumption and just consumerism just getting too much. I think certainly too much power to certain organisations and to certain people. There's definitely been too much money in the hands of some, and then others that do not have enough money. So I think a lot of the lessons and what we're going through is about to equalise a lot of that power and be more community, more about everyone having abundance in a way. And I think with Taurus and Uranus, I think people have been doing that, but it's really about getting back to your values, getting back to local food production. Sustainability is going to be really big with that. I think that's going to be a huge theme coming through. And what you value. So rather than this overconsumption of fashion, for example, but valuing what you have and looking after what you have, and maybe not needing so much of everything. That's probably really where the lessons are. And I think some of the things that might be really good things to do at this time are looking at, you know, going to your garden, and a lot of people are doing that. They're creating gardens, creating their own veggie patches. How can we clean up different areas around us? So maybe getting involved in that, even down the track when you can. Going for walks in nature, appreciating the beauty and the abundance that we have there. I think it's definitely going to shine a light on whole foods and locally produced food as well. So.
Yes. Well, with all these transport problems and COVID and stuff, it's hard to move things around
It is, yeah.
globally. So that would be probably one of the main answers to this. So what could we do to help us navigate through this time to get to the end of the year?
Look, this is probably the thing. Those are the collective changes that are happening in astrology that may be impacting. I mean, this big stallion of planets is definitely going to be sitting in some part of your chart, and that's why you see different people going through different, different issues, whether it be career issues, relationship issues, health issues. So wherever that's sitting in your chart, and if it's really hitting some other of your own personal planets, they're people that are really going through a lot now. So getting a reading, you can sort of get a little bit of an idea of what you can do and how you can work with your planets rather than work against them. I always think it's like, instead of hitting your head against a brick wall, well, let's see what we're trying to do and what it's asking us to do, and if we can sort of go that way instead. I think the other things, like I mentioned, is starting to look at how we work more collectively as human beings. I think that getting into more new age ideas and a way of thinking, maybe even going back and looking at some of the things from the 60s, but getting that vibe going. Well, I think you'll be going with the vibe rather than thinking, well, this is all going to be over. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be all over and things won't have changed. I think there's going to be, and look, you can see even in the US, there's a lot of civil rights issues happening already. So it's already a precursor. Some astrologers believe, like what happened in the 1960s when there was the lineup of signs in Aquarius, well, that might have been just the start of what we're to come into, because it will be changing. In the future.
Well, things have changed for a lot of people. There's uncertainty with their jobs. There's financial uncertainty. We're restricted to whether we can go out or not, especially in Melbourne with our lockdown. So what do you think? How do you think somebody can navigate through this and try to sort of reevaluate their direction? How does astrology help that?
Well, I guess it's interesting because the planets that being in Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter are all in Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So they're in Saturn's in Capricorn, its home planet at the moment. The way I would describe that, it's almost like having, that really strict dad that's saying, you need to do this and, stay in and do your homework and eat this, and we're doing it for your own good. So it's really, that's the energy we're under. Look, I think it's just really reevaluating your life and sort of looking at, well, what changes can I need? What do I really value going through your life, and saying what serves you and what do you want to take forward? I think you talk about that a lot in yoga. What can you leave behind and what's serving you? So, what do I really value? What do I really need? How can I sort of be more frugal? Because Capricorn is quite a frugal sign usually. It's about cutting the fat, cutting back the fat. And I think that's the energy going forward, because the two planets that go into Aquarius in December are Saturn, which is about let's be more disciplined. Let's cut that a little bit, but you've got Jupiter next to it, and Jupiter always gives that little bit of luck and hope. So it's like there is a reward if we can do it this way. And I think definitely the reward has been the planet and sustainability, and that's it's definitely the path that we need to go down in the future. So maybe perhaps work.
Do you think a lot of decluttering is happening as well? We're letting go of a lot of things.
And that's one of the suggestions that's being made with even the Taurus and Uranus is like, look at, what can I declutter? Should I sell those items? Should I give them away to people that need them if I don't need the money? So going through and really having a look at where there's excess, that is definitely one of the suggestions that may help, is like declutter different areas of your life and evaluate where you're at and what are you holding on to, and whether those serve you and serve you moving forward. So I think,
and that could even relate to emotions as well, things you might be holding on to in the past and you haven't let go of it, because this time when we are doing less, we can't run away from ourselves.
Yes. And I think that's what it's really those three planets. If you sort of put the themes of them together, it's about let's break something down, restructure it so that we can have the abundance we want in our lives. I really think that's the three themes, the three overriding themes that are going on at the moment. So that might be in your relationship area that you need to really look at that. That might be in your health area that you personally look at. It could be all of these areas, but if you're feeling that you're being impacted, if this is really impacting your ability to work in your industry, if it's impacting your relationship, then it's happening for a reason. So you're really being asked to look at that and evaluate how you can, move forward.
And how does astrology, what you do, help individuals navigate through their life? I know some people might believe this or not, but it's an option available to people. How do people find it beneficial when they come to see you? How does it help them navigate through their life?
Well, I think we all know of our sun sign, and that's, to me, knowing your sun sign is almost like knowing one note in a piece of music. That's how I would describe it. Another friend that's an astrologer, she says just knowing your sun sign is almost like going to a shop and buying off the rack. When you actually get your chart, properly done, it's tailor-made for you. So you might find out, okay, my sun sign is this, but my moon sign is this. How can I honor my moon sign, which is my emotional side, my instinctive side? And that's a great way, like just even knowing what your moon sign is, what those needs are, and how you can sort of work with that energy. It's your how you can self-care. Personally, self-care that suits you. Everyone has a different way of self-caring. So, for example, if you have Taurus moon, you might self-care by gardening, by cooking, by a nice bath with nice smelling candles. They're sort of the things I would do if I had Taurus moon. If I had Aries moon, I might want to do a bit of rigorous walking and add a little bit of a hike in there, or some type of challenge. Pisces moon people, they're very creators. They're tapping into creative energy. So just even that's just your moon sign, but you find out much more when you actually get your whole chart done. And you'll get a lot of different tools you can work with. Plus you can see what's coming up. So you can see where these planets are hitting. You learn the cycles of them. So, when will this influence end, or when will this change? And perhaps, some of the lessons that you can sort of take out of what's going on. So, astrology's used to be studied at university level in the medieval times. So, it's been around for 3,000 years.
Yeah. And do you see at the end of the year, I must ask you, do you think it's going to be lighter? Because it's quite a heavy feeling at the moment, especially for us in Melbourne with this lockdown.
It is definitely a heavy feeling. I think it's super strict. And it does and also Capricorn, that planet can rule depression as well. So there's an array of things that it can make you sort of feel. I was saying before, people say, I feel older, I feel grayer, it is a little bit of that energy. So that will change in December. And I think just when that changes, that will lighten that load. So Pluto will still be in Capricorn. So there will be still a lot of issues surrounding big corporations and governments and finance issues going on, but at least we'll have a different direction with it going into Aquarius. And I think technology will kick in, inventions will kick in, and that's what we can look forward to down the track with those energies. We'll just be doing things in a different way, so there'll be a different way of doing it. And I think it's quite hopeful, even with vaccines and perhaps treatment options. So I think there will be some hope there.
Oh, good.
And I'm at the end of the year, so we may have to hang in there to the end of the year.
End of this year before we feel some light. But do you think next year might be like? Do you think we will from the stars and the astrology? Do you think how long will it be before we get back to normal, or is that not going to ever be the same again?
Look, I just think it's going to be a new normal, and you hear that a lot. I think
Yeah.
that we will do things differently, and human beings have a great way of adapting. And look, I think that Aquarius energy will, like I said, rise a lot of, be interesting to see what travel is. There'll be different ways of dealing, you know, different ways to travel, perhaps, like with, whether they're cubicles in between you and the plane, I don't know, but someone will be coming up with different ways to sort of get forward. I think we will be connecting more with technology. I think that's going to continue. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's even cleaning. I've seen there's, if you even sort of skim in some of the ideas being talked about as like robotic cleaning. I personally think there could be a lot more use of robots rather than people, and a lot of the sort of contact sort of roles. You even see that when you go to the airport already, but where you're self-serving and you're putting your, I think you'll see a lot more in that space as far as technology rather than person. Yeah.
And any tips on how we can just get through the next few months? We're
Yeah,
at the tail end of lockdown. It's coming to an end. We're at the end of the marathon. We're getting tired. Any
look,
tips?
I think it's Monday. I think is a new moon in oh, there's sorry, not new moon. There's moon in Taurus. That might be really nice to do some self care options, like I said, have a bath, do all those, do a bit of gardening, do a bit of relaxing. There is unfortunately the Mars has been in Aries for a long time. Usually Mars doesn't stay in a sign, the same sign, for more than around 40 days, and Mars is actually going to be in there right through to the end of the year, but it's going to be retrograde as well. So there's a little bit of a square going on between Saturn and Mars. So I really think that's about, our will, our, wanting to get rearing out there and doing something, but we are being held back. So that energy is going to be a little bit at play, just to warn you, sort of next week. So maybe have a little bit of a rest on Monday. There will be that energy next week. So, but I think, look, moving forward, there will be movement, and I think we'll be able to sort of get out there eventually and do more. But I don't think it's going to be until really the end of the year that we're going to see something sort of significant, as in a big shift.
So we're going to ask people if they've got any questions. So pop your questions on so we can answer them. And Amanda's going to be around on the group to answer questions if you think of something afterwards. What was I going to say? So when somebody comes and sees you for an astrology reading,
Yes.
what information do they give you and how does it work exactly?
That's actually quite important. So I do them via Zoom now, so I can actually screen share I'll both email you your chart once it's been done up, which and then we put it on screen share, so I can actually, go through it with you. So that's important. So you can sort of really do it from wherever you are in the world. And you need your, obviously, location that you're born, date of birth, and then also your time of birth is really, it's really important as well. If you can, like, it's good to get it within, like, say, half an hour of the real time. You can get them from the hospital. It's not on our birth certificates in Australia, unfortunately. But time's really handy. Time affects your rising sign, so that's the outer person that you project, and it's how you start things often. It talks about how you start life, and it also, where your planets sit, it's like a circle wheel, and you'll may have a lot of planets in the second house, for example, and that's a Taurus house. So, or you might have a lot of planets in the seventh house, which is a relationship partner house. So it's people that really invest in their relationships. So that also gives it another flavor as well. Almost like you may not be a Taurus, but you might have a lot of planets in the house that's ruled by Taurus. So it gives means so you might like making money, and you may work on self-esteem issues, and there's that theme as well. So it just gives you so much more to work with. You can really see the whole picture of what's going on.
And do you think a lot of people are going to change careers and stuff at this time and really reevaluate what's going on?
I think they will, and I think when you're looking at careers, look at things that are that maybe even whether it's going back and studying so that you're brushing up on technology. So keep something in the technology space, having a look at you know, something in sustainability. I think that's really going to be highlighted. You know, food, once again, food and health. I think you can't go wrong with industries like food and health because they're definitely highlighted by it.
Yeah.
So they're sort of good options as well to work in those
Yeah.
industries. And just sort of looking at different trends and being ahead of what's going on. You know, if you start thinking in that sort of idea of, you know, what's going to come forward, how will this change, and what does that mean for me? So, you know, what inventions might be coming up, doing a bit of research and seeing, you know, what fits.
Yeah. So any questions, anybody? If you've got any questions, please just type them on and let us know. We'll just wait a couple of minutes. Any last little bits just to help us? If you've got any tips on how to get through, you can share that with us while we wait for questions.
Yeah, it is tough. I think it's, you know, it's just different people. It's different sort of things that work for them. But all the things that I mentioned is like use the time to declutter. That's a really good go-to thing to go and start doing. Look at, you know, reevaluating finances. Look at reevaluating, you know, what you need. Do you need 2 cars? I mean, I think, or do you know, can you get away with 1 car? And that's going to help the environment, and it may give you an option to be able to sell something. So those kind of decisions, I think, if finances are a problem. But I think if it's about freedom, is like, you know, spending that time in nature. So that's really replenishing. So if you're local, we're quite local, like somewhere like Newport Lakes. If you're allowed to go there, that's a beautiful spot, right in such a beautiful sort of bushwalk that you could go on. That really will replenish your soul.
Yeah. I've had one question here come up, if you don't mind, Amanda. You mentioned that you look that people will be looking, especially Capricorns, will be looking inside of us, especially Capricorns being frugal and to create abundance. Can you elaborate on that?
Sorry, so the question is,
you mentioned that people will be looking inside, especially Capricorns being frugal to create abundance.
Well, there's 3 planets that are in Capricorn at the moment, so that's the energy of what it's asking us to do, is to maybe be a little bit more frugal with our finances. Capricorn people right now, they're really going through a lot of change. So there's certain signs, and this is probably what I should have mentioned as well, is there's certain signs that are going through a lot. So if you're a Capricorn, you can only, and you've got a lot of planets in Capricorn, so you may have your Sun, your Mars, you may have your you know, your Venus, your Mercury, a few different other signs in there as well. All those planets are now sitting right on top of you at the moment. So those people, and we know Shavita's a Capricorn, they're going through a lot of changes. They're really they're you know, they're out there in the front line making big changes in their life. The Capricorns probably can do better with this energy because they already know how to be usually disciplined, how to be you know, having, you know, good boundaries. They'll have sort of a little toolkit of things that they always go to that will help them get through. And Capricorns tend to be usually, you know, fairly frugal with their finances, fairly smart with their finances. You know, it's a generalization because you need to look at what's going on in the rest of your chart. You may have other things that contradict that altogether, but as a general rule, that is sort of the energy of Capricorn.
Excellent. Any more questions, everybody? We've had lots to think about.
Yeah.
Gardening done.
So some of the other signs that might be really feeling things, I'll give you an example, like the planet Uranus being in Taurus. Like it's a real shake up, you know, it's like a bit of a bolt of electricity, that planet, when it goes in somewhere. I was looking the other day at Adele's chart and I thought, wow, she's lost 44 kilos. That's really interesting. I just have to look up her chart. She's a Taurus. So she's had that planet pop on her, you know, really ignite her. And it was a book that she read. Obviously, that was the catalyst that sort of resonated with her, that led to it. But it also was hitting other planets in her chart. So when I was looking at that, I was like, yeah, wow, I knew something had changed her behavior. Something had really change things for her. So you are seeing a lot of changes. You know, a lot of Tauruses are saying, I feel free for the first time. I may not be earning the money I was earning, but I feel free. I can do this and spend time with my family. So certainly Scorpios, because they're opposite, on the opposite side of the horoscope wheel to Taurus, they're actually they're being pulled, you know, to change some behaviors or change things in different areas of their life. So there's a few different signs that Aries, Leo, they're squaring the Capricorns often in their chart. It depends what degree it is as well. For some, it may not come just straight away. It may be later. Yeah. So
I've had a question about, is there anything going on in Pisces with Pisces?
Well, Neptune is okay. So yeah, Neptune is actually in Pisces. It's been there for a while. So it depends on where your sun sign Pisces is in your chart. For example, I have a friend, her sun sign is Pisces, but she has it in her career section, and it seems to have dissolved her career options at the moment. She actually quit her job just before COVID and hasn't been able to get a job in that particular profession she was working at before. So she may have to look at something a little bit different, you know, moving forward. So it would really depend on where it is. But look, Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces, so it can be making you a lot more creative, a lot more confused about what direction you want to go. Some of the energy I'd suggest on doing is maybe a bit of art therapy, tapping into that sort of creative side.
Excellent. Well, if you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comments, and I'm sure Amanda won't mind coming back to you with the comments. I'll leave Amanda's details in one of the comments, so if you needed to find out a bit more about what she does, please feel free to contact her. Thank you so much, Amanda, for your time. We really appreciate you sharing, giving a little insight that there is light.
There is
soon coming our way. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time in our next broadcast. Thanks for watching.
Okay, great. Thank you.